first thing I always do is start on the longest straight edge I have. In this instance, this project is the same on all sides. I give myself a tail, because when we go to join that, once we finish sewing right around, it's important to have as much tail as you can. So I would generally start about 1.5 inches away from the corner itself. Make sure you've got either your 1/4 inch foot on or your needle position at the 1/4 inch mark. I choose just to put the needle position at the 1/4 inch mark. The next thing I do is mark or put a pin where the 1/4 inch spot is before the edge of the project. So you can use your ruler and just pop a pin where the 1/4 inch mark is. I do this because by putting a mark on the binding, the foot itself pushes your binding down, so therefore your 1/4 inch mark may end up further down than you need. So I just pop a pin there as a reminder also to, that's where we need to stop with our needle down position. So stopping where the pin is, taking your pin out. Now we want to lift the foot up. For some of you this will be a manual lift. Turn your project. Now we're going to reverse off the project. Okay, and the next thing is to lift the foot up, needle up, pull your project towards you, take your binding, push it towards the back. This will create a nice angle here for you. Then you need to bring the binding back towards you until that fold is along the edge of your project there. And this raw edge here is in line with the right side of your project here, along the raw edge. Okay, put down and you can stitch along this edge. We have this first part of the binding laid out. The next step is to lay the rest of your binding down across there. So the idea is to have a overlap. The overlap technically should be the width of the fabric, which is 2.5 inches. For me, I find that that ends up with too much slack in the binding, and then that creates folds when you're doing your final bindings, stitching it down. So I actually only measure a 2.25 inch overlap rather than a 2.5. It just takes out that extra slack that I find comes from using the 2.5 inch overlap. Then I'm going to cut that tail off. You can put that aside. Yes, I just use straight sharp scissors. You can again go to your mat and use your ruler and your rotary cutter. That is completely up to you. The next thing, laying down like that, fold and twist. Now this piece, it will come over and what I say kisses that. So right sides together. Now so what we're going to do is just lay that down there by itself. And rather than using this as our indication for a 2.5 inch measure, we're just going to use our ruler. Mark the 2.5 inch bit, so that way then we can do our angle accurately. And while we did that overlap cut, only 2.25 inches, we still need to, our fabric itself is still 2.5 inches wide, so we still need to do that same 2.5 inch angle measurement. Okay, so to help us out, we can actually fold our project up. This foam is very forgiving, so we can just put a clip in it there like that. That'll help us out. Get our tails together, and then we'll put our pins in. We can also fold this one up to give us as much slack as we can. Okay, just making sure that's all at a right angle. Put a bit further away. Okay, so that's pinned down there, and we just make sure that that's pinned on straight. Okay, as you can see, I've trimmed that excess off as we did before, and we've got the right amount of binding. All we need to do now is sew from where we finished to where we started from.